Star Wars collectors, and welcome to another Bossk Bounty video. And in this video we're going to be taking a look at the Star Wars The Black Series 50th anniversary Ben Kenobi on that vintage Kenner inspired card back, as you can see in front of you there. I do have with me the VOTC Star Wars card for the 3.75 inch because I do not have a vintage Obi-Wan Kenobi card back in my collection. I wish I did, but I do not. And of course we do have the vintage Kenner figure from back in the day to compare against the brand new Black Series version. So this is the Kenner card back in 1978 when it was released. This is how the figure would have looked. So if you can just imagine that guy in there, and that is how it would look. And this is the Black Series one, which we'll take a look at right now. All right then, so here is the card back, and it has the 50th anniversary Lucasfilm logo in the top left hand corner there. If you've seen my Greedo review, you'll know all about these cards by now. As I mentioned, it has the original image of Alec Guinness there playing Ben Kenobi from Star Wars with his yellow lightsaber, which is always a mistake on the card back. They eventually corrected it when they did the Return of the Jedi card back. We've got the Kenner logo at the bottom there. Figure in the bubble. The figures are so big that they take up a large proportion of the card. So if you compare it to this one, you know, there's a lot of the image missing. But what can you do with such a big figure? The back of the card has a lovely image of Ben Kenobi having his duel with Darth Vader there. Absolutely awesome. 50th anniversary of Lucasfilm. And as I mentioned in the previous review, you've got this really good timeline starting all the way back in 1971 when Lucasfilm was created. Obviously, that's why it's celebrating the 50th anniversary, obviously. And then you've got the films, all on that timeline, with a bit of stuff in between, Legends. You've got the prequels, Clone Wars, Rebels, sequel trilogy, Rogue One and Solo, which is pretty awesome, it's got to be said. Obviously, half the card is taken up by all the legal gumph. We've got Disney and Hasbro at the bottom. So there you go. That is the card back, but I'm interested in the figure and taking a look. So we're going to open him up. All right then, so here's the figure outside of the packaging, and I've got to say, I love this figure. It's so strange having a vinyl cape this big. If you compare it to the original, he's so small compared to this guy. But the cape is completely based on how it was done. Obviously, this one's got the collar folded down. Slightly lighter colour, but you had lots of different variations of capes anyway back in the day. But yeah, it's really, really strange feeling this cape, you know, it being so big on the 6-inch figure. But man, I do love the head sculpt and the paint deco on the face. I think it's a really good likeness, and it's bringing this sort of vintage style figure to life. We do have a bit of plastic in there. I don't think you need that. Let's take that out. I think that's just to protect the figure from denting the cape and stuff like that in the packaging. So there he is, Ben Kenobi, or Ben Obi-Wan Kenobi. I always remembered him at this point as just Ben Kenobi. And there he is, looking pretty cool indeed. Obviously, he doesn't have the retractable lightsaber in the arm like the original figure does. You know, you want him to do a little bit more than that. But the aesthetics are the same. You can see his body is pretty much all one big sculpt of robe, which is looking pretty cool. And you can lift those up to see what's underneath, which is just some plain black legs with brown boots, which you just do not need to see because essentially you never really see him like that. Obviously the original figure is not like that, it's just moulded plastic brown legs. A bit more detail on the belt than the vintage figure. You've got his little black satchel there and a little clip for the lightsaber hilt, which we will see if that hangs on without the blade. Let's do that now. Can we take this blade out? We can. That was rather tough to do, but you can do. There's the hilt, which has got a nice little eyelet on there just to hang it on there, which is pretty cool. Let's do that now. That looks really cool. Now what I would say when I first saw this little hilt here, if I can get a close-up of it, is that it is one colour, like a gunmetal grey colour. There is no detailing on that whatsoever. Not even the little button has sort of any black on there or anything, so no paintwork whatsoever. I don't know whether that again was intentional, just to keep it as sort of vintage as possible, but I think it would have been nice to just give us a little bit of detail on that lightsaber hilt. But still, it looks really cool hanging on his belt there. And yeah, again, I love the cape. Really sets it off as being a, you know, a vintage Kenner style figure. In terms of articulation, he has a bit more than Greedo on the head, so the head is more on like a ball joint, I guess. You've got a hinge there, so you can look down about that far. It's almost like on a double hinge, but it's very, very tight, this one. Looks up about that far, and then there's a bit of movement there, but it's very, very tight. And he's loosening up just a little bit. Shoulders are on a ball hinge. Now, obviously, I'm not going to move them around too much because I don't want to take the cape off. The capes, obviously, back in the day would split under the arm because the kids would take them off and on and off and on. And I'm not going to do that. I don't want to do that too much. But as you can see, the arms are on a ball hinge. He has ball hinged elbows. I don't think there's going to be too much at the wrist. Oh, there is a hinge in the wrist, but that's actually not too bad considering it is mostly hidden from his cloak there on his sleeve. He has a ball on the torso there, or on the waist. And the legs are going to be fully articulated. They are on ball hinges, and he does have the split at the thigh, and he has double knees, and he does have rocket ankles. But to be honest, you're not going to be doing too much with that because it's covered by these two great big pieces of plastic. So you're not exactly going to be able to kick out or anything because it's just going to move the whole piece of plastic. But so let's just put the lightsaber back in. Now, one thing that I do like about the lightsaber blade, which I did mention when I first saw these figures, is that it's not a solid colour, but it's also not so translucent as you would get on a modern Star Wars figure. So they've gone between the two. Here's the vintage one, a solid blue plastic. And this one is not, you know, you're fully translucent. It's a bit clouded just to sort of represent that vintage feel as best as they can. And I thought that was a pretty nice touch. And there he is with the lightsaber in his hand. Let's see if he can maybe get it in both hands, which would be a pretty good achievement if he can. All right, so because of the hinges in the hands, you can hold the lightsaber in, you know, both hands like that. And I think that's probably how I'm going to display him. I think that's pretty cool. You might be able to move them out just slightly, just so at that point where he's going to sort of surrender himself or sacrifice himself to Darth Vader. I think that's pretty cool, and he looks awesome. So let's just compare him one more time against the vintage figure. I mean, the vintage figure wasn't bad in its day. It was a good Ben Kenobi, but man, you know, you can see how things have come along, and I think they've done an awesome job on that face there. You can see some of the sort of darker paint that they've used under his eyes there to make him look a bit older. Obviously, you've got the white hair and the white beard, and he just looks fantastic. So there you go then, guys. That is the vintage Kenner-inspired 50th anniversary Black Series Ben Kenobi, looking pretty awesome. Now, these are Amazon exclusives, so let me know if you're going to plan to pick these up. Do you like these figures? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you do happen to enjoy this video, don't forget to drop a like down below. Subscribe if you're new. And we shall see you on the next one.